Hey, welcome to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Arif, Halaby, and Jeff Gerard every week at this time, talking about your family's finances, getting out of debt, managing your future life. You know, with a lot of folks we have seen time and again, conflict, and I don't know if there's a better word, Jeff, but conflict when it comes to leaving money to your kids.
Yes.
Especially, and here's where I've seen it, his, hers, and ours. Right? When you have his kids, her kids, our kids, what do you do when you're trying to leave money and you think you have to be fair? I don't know what that word is, or equal, or...
Yeah.
Does that happen? Is there such thing?
I don't know. I don't think that there is such a word. I mean, you've certainly shed some different light on the word fair since I've known you over the last decade or so. But there's an interesting dynamic that happens when money gets involved. I don't care how close people are, blood related, or you've had someone in your family and it was your choice, right? I mean, hey, look, family, we're kind of married to them, right? But there are people in our lives that come into our lives by our choice, and they've stayed there for many, many years, and sometimes even those folks we like to leave money to. But the crazy part to me, and I've seen this happen time and again, is that people become conflicted when it comes to leaving money. It's all of a sudden this thing that has a little bit of a stigma around it. Do you leave too much, too little? Is someone going to think differently of me if I leave something to someone? Will they think differently of me if I don't leave something to someone? And all of these things start to come into play that otherwise would not have, and you start to see a big change in someone's life that way.
Here's what I have found. If you think you're going to leave money to your kids and at the end they're going to all be happy, trust, respect, and treat that money as if they had earned it, I'm telling you, it doesn't happen. It isn't. That's not what happens. It's not the way it works. The way young people, it doesn't matter, 60 years old and the 85-year-old parent passes away, it doesn't matter. You never earned that money, and it's very difficult for those folks to actually treat those dollars with the same level of respect that you did by saving it and squirreling it away and moving it for your future and off to the end. Suddenly, they're going to take the trips and the vacations. So here's what we have found over time, especially, and I dealt with it just today, his, hers, and ours, married for nearly 4 decades, but they still have kids from a prior marriage, each of them. They're back together. You know, they're together now for almost 40 years. So, and then they have children between themselves. One of them has a mom. You know, the kids have a mom from a previous marriage, right? It's not the same one. And that mom happens to be wealthy.
Okay.
So, does she give her son and her children the same amount of dollars as his kids? Even though they've been together for 4 decades, do you still leave the same amount of money when one set of the kids can expect to inherit a lot more money from the other side? Sure. Does that even come into the equation? Does that even matter? Who cares? Do you have to be a part of that conversation?
It's interesting because here you have someone that is doing something out of charity, out of the goodness of their heart. They know they can't take it with them, but they could give it to a million different places, probably more. Places, people, charities, anybody, you name it. They can do what they want with their money because, like you said, they earned it. That's their gift to give. But again, here's this dynamic that comes into play that you say, okay, we've been a family for all these years. I should be able to do what I want with it, yet there's always going to be something attached to that money that you give as a gift.
And think of it, if you're giving this gift when you're alive, you get a chance to see what happens.
Yes.
What matters to them, what they spend it on, how they value it. You know, you've seen folks where they donate a little bit of money to a charity, and then that charity does good things with the money, or they don't. And if they do good things with the money, then the person says, oh, by the way, I have some more money to donate. Oh, wow. And maybe even the charity didn't even know that those extra dollars were coming. And it's a way for them to pass on a legacy. And that's really all it is. The money you leave to your children or grandchildren is a legacy. It's a way of saying, hey, I'm still here, even though you may not physically be here. It's a way for you to pass on dollars and expect somehow you to be honored and respected with those that are staying behind after you.
You know, I'm seeing more and more, Arif, that a lot of people are doing just what you're saying, is giving gifts while they're alive so they can see the fruit of what they've gone without and sacrificed for it. And here's what you've said, and I love that you said this, is that you didn't spend that money on the trips and take the vacations or buy the RV or do the fun things that we hope that our clients and anybody else that's saved any amount of money will do in their retirement. Because after all, that's what they've worked for. They've saved that money, and then they'll give it to somebody else, and then they'll go and do that because there's just that lack of respect there. But it's a growing trend, I think, that people are starting to realize that they get more fulfillment out of being able to give the gift while they're alive rather than, hey, well, I hope they do the right thing when I'm gone.
Yeah, and I think it adds a little bit of I don't know, maybe suspiciousness on the person who may do bad things with the money. They're looking at it and going, okay, I'm being watched. Someone is still paying attention who worked hard for these dollars. I want to really get into the facts of what I see when it comes to leaving money to your kids, especially if you have one that is wayward. If you have more than 2 kids, you've got a good shot of one of them taking a few minutes or a few years to find themselves, whether it be with drugs, whether it be with promiscuity, whether it be with not holding down a job because they want to surf or play guitar or something.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in life who say, I'm going to leave money to my kids as long as they do these things. And if they don't, I don't love them any less. I just don't trust them with the money.
That's right. And here's an interesting idea. It's actually kind of coming to me as we're talking about it, is what if there was somebody out there that was going to receive an inheritance and they don't know what amount of money is coming to them, but they think, oh, my parents are wealthy, so I really don't have to save for retirement. Maybe I don't have to save for my future at all. And you know what? My parents, they've always bailed me out. I think that I can just pretty much mess up as much as I want and they're going to take care of me. But what if you're a parent that says, look, I've recognized this characteristic in my child, my adult child, put hanging quotes around child. And what if you said, I am going to earmark X amount of dollars. I'm going to give you your inheritance early. And then that number is all you get. And the rest is going to charity. I don't care if you have 1, 3, 5, 10 kids. It doesn't matter. What if you said, I'm going to give you this amount of money and that's all you can expect? I think people would respect that idea a little bit more. And they might even say, wow, I can only mess up this much before my parents bail me out,
We've had that one particular client who went out and actually... single child. Parents had at the time about $4 million in real estate paid off, apartment buildings and income property that was paying a monthly rent, if you will.
Sure.
Way more than this person needed to live on. And she wasn't saving. She was in her 50s. Her mom and dad are still alive. And she said, you know what? There's no reason for me to save. She saved less than $5,000 for retirement. And what ended up happening was the mom and dad, who also became clients, said, we're not going to leave anything to her because she can't handle any money. Yeah. Now, I couldn't tell the daughter that she was getting nothing from an inheritance. And I couldn't tell the parents, hey, by the way, your daughter is saving nothing because she's expecting your money. What a conundrum of facts when life comes together and I have to now make a decision. Well, we just said, look, it's not our world. We're not crossing that line. It's up to them to talk about whatever they're going to talk about. We just put down beneficiaries. And what it means is if you can't handle $5 or $5,000, why would your parents expect to give you $500,000? Or $50,000, I don't know, you pick the number. Why is it that they should trust you with money that they were? If you don't even respect the money that you have earned, you're the one that's worked for it. Yep. Then why would you treat any any better, any cleaner, anybody else's money?
Here's something else I think is a bit of a risk when it comes to adult children counting on some of that money to come back to them in an inheritance form. You have 2 parents, maybe mother, father. Mother dotes over you. They've always taken care of you. That's the person that you go to if you've ever been in a jam, if you ever needed something. And some time passes on, and then mom passes first.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe dad never really agreed with that business you were running. Maybe dad didn't really agree that with that choice that you made, with that path that you took in your life, or the way you spent your money, or that girl you married, or the kids of hers that you took care of. And all of a sudden, you find yourself in your 50s, and dad just kind of isn't with it. You're there every weekend.
We have seen that.
You're cleaning the pool. You're taking care of him. You go over and make sure his bills are paid. No one's scamming him. You still take care of him. You do that out of the goodness of your heart. But dad starts to show some signs, some end-of-life signs that are a little different than you had anticipated. Now what do you do? Isn't that interesting?
You know, it is, especially if you expect somebody in your life to care for you beyond the grave. We had one particular gentleman, three kids in the family. They each received somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think, $600,000 or $800,000. One of them had all of that money gone.
Oh my gosh!
In less than I think it was 14 months. Living on the streets currently. Somebody else, one of the other sons, took those dollars and did great things with it. Saved it, invested it, made a profit for him and his family. I share that with you because when you are considering giving money to one child versus another, I want to share with you when we come back after the break the differences in how you expect some of your kids to handle the money, because there's all sorts of conversations. One of them, one child became a lawyer or a doctor or is married into money themselves. So should I give that child money because they have managed well? And what about the other one who just can't seem to get off the ground, hasn't finished school yet, keeps moving in and out back with me or my family, right? You're having that conversation with your spouse. That child just can't get their feet off the ground. I know the problem. We have to give them more money.
Oh, more money, always.
I don't think it works that way in your life when you're considering leaving dollars behind to that person. When we come back after the break, I want to get into some details with you, if I can, about some of the nuances and some of the solutions that we have seen work. Because it doesn't always have to be all or nothing. You can put in criteria. You can put in almost benchmarks, if you will. And Jeff, we have seen where people have put in little, what's the right word? Almost like checklists.
Yes.
You get your college degree, a certain amount comes. You get to this age, a certain amount. And I want to share with you what a friend of mine has done who 15 years ago was broke, living in his mom's, an extra bedroom with his two daughters in his mom's spare bedroom. And yet today he's worth multiple millions in 15 years. What did he do, and what does he do for his daughters when we come back? And how does that work? We've got that and a whole lot more. Arif Halaby, along with Jeff Gerard, on Total Financial Solutions Safer Money Hour on AM 1220 KHTS.